Not many people know Audrey Munson by name, but if you spent any time in New York City, you've seen her face. After all, Munson's likeness tops some of the city's grandest buildings. She's the subject of a handful of its largest sculptures and is featured in a whopping 30 statues at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Her influence extends further too, all the way to the White House, which holds a piece that borrows Munson's features and fierce gaze. How did one woman come to captivate so many? The country's most celebrated artists, like Gertrude Vanderbilt Whitney and Daniel Chester French, invited her into their studios. There were tragic aspects to her life, and that's a juicy story to tell, artist Andrea Geyer explained to Artsy. Geyer, whose practice is research-based and often focuses on the untold stories of women, made a series of photographs and collages inspired by Munson's life, an attempt to rewrite her distorted, mostly forgotten legacy. It's also important to tell Munson's story with the agenda that she had in mind, one where she not only had agency, but also creative power, Geyer continued. Munson was born in 1891 in Rochester, New York. Before she was 10 years old, her parents divorced, setting off a life of financial struggle for Munson and her mother, who had sole custody of her daughter. But Munson had dreams of supporting herself as an actress, and between 1907 and 1909, both she and her mother relocated to New York to pursue her goal. It was around this time that Munson, still in her teens, was scouted while walking through Manhattan. A photographer, captivated by her beauty, asked her to sit for him. The gig jump-started Munson's role as artist's muse and led to her first major job, modeling for a then-famous sculptor named Isidore Conti. Soon after, Munson became one of New York's most sought-after nude models, inspiring the greatest sculptors and painters of her time, from Vanderbilt Whitney and Chester French of Lincoln Memorial fame to Attilio Piccirilli and A. Sterling Calder. She posed with the dramatic flair and sensitivity of an actress, and artists' interpretations of Munson began surfacing all over the city. For some, the chance to have an image survive into posterity seemed like it should have been enough. To Norman Rose, who interviewed Munson during her heyday, she was a slender, graceful girl who will live in marble and bronze and canvas in the art centers of the world, long, long after she and everyone else of this generation shall have become dust. But Munson, in her own accounts, seemed to predict a different future. Where is she now, this model who was so beautiful? What has been her reward? Is she happy and prosperous, or is she sad and forlorn, her beauty gone, leaving only memories in the wake? In 1922, a year after Munson wrote these words, she attempted suicide. By that point, modeling requests and film roles had begun to slow, and she had been embroiled in 2 scandals that seemed to negatively affect her reputation. The first came in 1919, when Munson's landlord murdered his wife because, according to him, he wanted to marry his famous tenant. Munson denied any romantic relationship and was cleared, but the media latched onto the story nonetheless. The other incident, which took place in 1922, bears a striking resemblance to recent stories that have emerged in the wake of the Not Her Me Too movement, and Harvey Weinstein's conduct in particular. In Munson's telling, a powerful Broadway producer, whom she never named, entered her dressing room during the production of a play called The Fashion Show. He made sexual advances to which, as she later recalled, she boldly rebuffed, "Don't touch me. I hate you. Your touch is repulsive to me. I would rather have a snake crawl over me than to feel your hand upon me." The lecture didn't react well. A few days later, Munson was told, without explanation, that the play was closing imminently. From then on, she struggled to find work. Afterwards, Munson also battled mental illness. She was eventually committed to the St. Lawrence State Hospital for the Insane in Ogdensburg, New York, at the age of 40. It was there that she died in 1996. Typical of Munson's tenacity, she lived to the remarkable age of 104. After Munson died, she was buried in an unmarked grave, an ironic end to the life of a woman rendered all over the United States in stone and gold. She not only stood up for her own rights, but also became an activist and organizer, fighting for the recognition of other women. For that and many other achievements, she deserves to be remembered by name.